And I especially want to thank her for being at my side for the last 4 years. We have worked together. I am not going to give you a long speech, but I just wanted to say the following. I had to make a decision with my wife and my family a number of months ago about whether or not I would run for president. Because I think, as all of you know, and as Eric knows, being in politics is not an easy business. Everybody here knows that, especially nowadays. And my wife and I talked about this. It actually was the most difficult discussion outside of personal issues that we've ever had in our lifetime, and I've been married for 30 years. And on Monday, we decided it would be a good idea to run, and Tuesday we thought of all the reasons why it was a crazy thing to do, and on Wednesday we came back, and we finally decided to do it. And the truth of the matter is the reason we did it, and I should tell you I'm proud and love my state of Vermont, and I have a great job representing Vermont, but the reason that we decided to go forward was essentially twofold. Number one, in our heart of hearts, and I know not everybody agrees, but that's what we concluded, that it is absolutely imperative to defeat the most dangerous president in the history of this country. I've got 4 great kids and 7 very beautiful grandchildren. And I pledged and talked to my wife about the necessity of defeating Trump. And when we think about Trump, my anger at him is not just that he wanted to throw 32 million people off of the health care that they have. It's not just that after promising the people of Ohio and the people of America that he wouldn't cut Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, he put in his budget massive cuts to Medicaid and Medicare and cuts to Social Security. It's not just that he told the American people that his tax plan would not benefit the wealthy, and then it turns out that 83% of the benefits go to the top 1%. And it's not just that when the scientific community tells us with 100% certainty that climate change is an existential threat to our planet, and he thinks it's a hoax. Those are all reasons enough that we have got to do everything that we can to defeat Trump. Yeah. But there is something even deeper that gets me going. And that is that for the first time in my lifetime, we have a president who deliberately is trying to divide the American people up based on the color of their skin, based on where they were born, based on their religion, based on their sexual orientation. And it is just unbelievable to understand that we have a president who is in fact a racist and a bigot.
Wow.
I wish I did not have to say it. You know, I have Republican friends and I have conservative friends who are not racists, who are not bigots. But we have a president today who is just that. And the second reason that my wife and I concluded that it was important for us to get involved in this race is that not only do we have to defeat the worst president in the history of our country, but that we, in fact, in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, we're going to have to transform this nation and create an economy and a government that work for all of us and not just the 1%. All of us, black and white and Latino and Native American and Asian American, gay and straight, immigrant, and those of us who are born in this country. This country belongs to all of us, not just a handful of billionaires. And what I wanted to accomplish during this campaign, and what we will accomplish, and what we will implement when we make it into the White House, and as Nina mentioned, now why do I say that? I say that for two reasons. And one is that unlike Trump, I do not believe that the goal of life is greed and selfishness. I don't believe that the goal of life is stepping over everybody in order to make billions of dollars after you lie and you cheat and you steal. All right. I believe that the goal of life is to create community, to bring us together in love and compassion, to understand, in fact, that it is my moral obligation to be concerned about your family, and you have got to be concerned about my family, because as human beings, we are in this together. We will sink or swim together. And I look out at this country, and one of the joys and honors of running for president is your ability to go all over this country. I'll be on a plane tomorrow morning going to New Hampshire. And I just came back from Florida, and I'll be going all over this country. And you see the beauty and the diversity in the deepest sense. I never knew this before. As a senator from a small state, and going on to Native American reservations, you see and hear the struggles and the joys and the beauty of the Native American people. Go to San Francisco, and you talk to our Asian American brothers and sisters. And you go to Nevada, and you talk to beautiful young people, girls, 15, 16 years of age, wonderful kids, who are scared to death every single day that their mom or dad will be deported. All right? We are a beautiful country with beautiful people. And we are most beautiful when we come together as one people. And I look at this country today, and I see the potential that we are not fulfilling. I see a nation in which we have 500,000 people sleeping out on the streets of America tonight. 30,000 veterans have put their lives on the line sleeping out on the streets of America tonight. And yet we have 3 people in America who own more wealth than the bottom half of the American people. That is not what America is supposed to be. Today in America, in Cincinnati and in Burlington, Vermont, you got moms and dads trying to find good quality child care for their little ones, so they can't find child care that they can afford. You have people all over this country working for $9, $10 an hour. They're working 50, 60 hours a week. And they're spending half of their limited income to put a roof over their heads. We have more wealth and income inequality today in America than at any time since the 1920s. In the last 30 years, if you can believe this, the top 1% in this country has seen a $21 trillion increase in their wealth. Bottom half of America has seen a $900 billion decline in their wealth. Do you believe that? $21 trillion increase in wealth. Massive transfer of wealth from working families to the people on top. So I'm running for president, and Nina laid this out because this is a moral crisis facing this country, a moral crisis. The Reverend talked about it as well. We are a nation of great wealth, but so many of our people are living in poverty. In America, we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth. And as all of you know, every problem facing America is always worse in the African American community. So I'm running for president because I believe that in the year 2019, we should be talking about economic rights as human rights. On the way out, tell me the ideas. I want you to think about them. You tell me if I'm too radical, too extreme, or maybe a little bit crazy here. Every psychologist who studies human behavior tells you that 0 through 4 are the most important years of intellectual and emotional development. Right? And yet we have a dysfunctional child care system. So I say to all of those politicians who tell us how much they love America, if you love America, love the children of America. Make sure our children are not hungry. There are too many. In the richest country in the history of the world, we have children in America today who are hungry. If you love America, make sure that our kids get the best quality education that they can. Now, when we talk about our young people, let's make a few points here. When I was a kid, if you graduated high school, the likelihood was that you could go out and get a decent job and make it into the middle class. Those days are by and large gone. And in a highly competitive global economy, if our kids are going to do well, they need a higher education. And not everybody wants to go to college or has the ability to go to college. Some kids are good with their hands. So I happen to believe, and you tell me if this is a radical idea, that throughout the last 100 years we have said that K through the 12th grade should be free public education. I think we've got to go beyond that today.
Yes.
And I think we have got to make public colleges and universities tuition free. We've got to make vocational training for those who want to be carpenters or sheet metal workers or automobile mechanics, all important jobs. We've got to make that training free as well, because I'll tell you why. I would 1,000 times over rather invest in a kid's education than invest in sending that kid to jail. We're spending $80 billion a year to lock up fellow Americans, and as all of you know it better than I do, disproportionately African American.
Yep.
So I say that let's take a look at those kids. Let's make sure they don't fall through the cracks. Let's make sure they have the education and the job training to go out and make it in society and become tax-paying citizens rather than seeing their lives destroyed behind bars. And furthermore, we have a generation today, millennials, who for the first time in the modern history of our country will have a lower standard of living than their parents.
Wow.
Lower standard of living. They are more in debt than you were when they were your age. They are having a very difficult time buying a home. And the wages that they are earning in real inflation accounted for dollars is lower than it was 20 years ago. Meanwhile, in order to go through college, they have gone deeply into debt. 50,000, 100,000. I talk to doctors and dentists. You know what people are getting out of medical school? You know what debt they have now? Anyone know? We're talking about $300,000, $400,000 in debt. Can you believe that? So what we are saying right now, Nina Turner said it better than I'm saying. If we had the money to bail out the crooks on Wall Street, we could cancel the debt for that entire generation. One radical idea. Dr. King made a very profound statement. I just quoted him the other day. In fact, I was in a debate last night. I wanted to quote him, I didn't get to it. And this is what he said. He said, in America, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but he said, in America, we have socialism for the rich, but we have rugged free market capitalism for the poor. That means if you're on Wall Street, you got to bail out. If you are in the fossil fuel industry today, and your carbon emissions are destroying the planet, don't worry, because you're going to get billions and billions of dollars in subsidies and in tax breaks and on and on. If you're in the pharmaceutical industry and you're charging the American people the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs, don't worry about it. You're going to get subsidies and tax breaks as well. But if you are a working stiff and you're trying to get by, taking care of your family, apparently we as a government are not supposed to help you. Well, we're going to turn that around. We're going to use government resources to help those who need it and ask those that have it to start paying their fair share of taxes. Now, there's another issue out there. Issue I raised a few years ago, and I'm glad to hear that a whole lot of folks are talking about it now. And I want all of you to think about it. Is health care a human right or not?
Yes.
He was just talking with Eric, and I was just talking about it a moment ago. Told me an experience he was familiar with. Right now in America, you have people who are sick, really sick. They can't afford to go to the doctor. You got people who end up in the hospital. They come out with a $50,000 bill, and they're going to go bankrupt having to pay off that bill. And I want everybody here to know it, because not everybody in America does know it. There is one major country on earth that does not guarantee health care to all people as a right. Anyone know the name of that country? It's the United States, and together we are going to change that with a Medicare for all single-payer program. I believe that if you work 40 hours a week, you should not be living in poverty, and I'm very proud. Having raised that issue a few years ago, we now have 7 states in America that have raised the minimum wage to $15 an hour, which is the right thing to do. And I suspect that within the next couple of weeks, the United States House of Representatives will pass national legislation for a $15 an hour minimum wage. And I believe that climate change is the great existential threat to our planet. The debate is over. I was in Miami last night, and what the scientists tell us that in 50 years, 25% of Miami will be underwater. And this is true for coastal communities all over our country, and in fact, all over the world. This is not an issue that we have a choice about. This is an issue that we must act, and act boldly. 50 years ago, brave people had the courage to take on the tobacco industry. Remember that? Yeah. Remember the lies they told? My father smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day. He died young from heart illness. And tobacco has been especially hard on the African American community, as it happens. Yeah. All right? And the tobacco industry lied. And today the fossil fuel industry is lying as well. So if we are serious about saving this planet for our children and grandchildren, we're going to have to take them on and transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. We have in this moment in history, a unbelievable choice that the American people are going to have to make. On one hand, we have a president who is moving us toward authoritarianism, who does not respect the rule of law, who is moving us toward oligarchy. We have a president who actually defends and encourages voter suppression. Can you imagine? You were just saying earlier today that the battles never end, do they? Who would have believed that in the year 2019, so long after the Civil Rights Act was passed, the Voting Rights Act was passed, that we're still arguing about whether people have the right to vote in America? Would you believe it? That's where we are. That's one choice. We can go down that path. Or there's another path that we can go down. And that is to create a vibrant democracy which says that everybody in America 18 years of age or older is registered to vote. End of discussion. Then we do away with this absurd Citizens United Supreme Court decision, which allows billionaires to buy elections. That we do what the Supreme Court failed to do yesterday, and that we end this excessive gerrymandering all over America. That not only do we create a strong political democracy, which encourages people to participate, encourages young people to run for office, but we create an economy that works for all of us. And that means that everybody in America is entitled to health care. Everybody in America is entitled to a quality education. Yes. Everybody in America is entitled to affordable housing. Now, some people may think that's a radical idea. I don't. I think that's an idea based on justice, based on everything that the Bible stands for. So that is the direction that, if elected president, I will take this country. I will take this country in the direction of economic justice, social justice, environmental justice, and racial justice. Because we will finally end the institutional racism, which is rampant in every aspect of our society. There is no excuse for white families to be owning 10 times more wealth than black families. There is no excuse, unimaginable, that the infant mortality rate in the black community is 2.5 times higher than the white community. There is no excuse why maternal death for black women is at the level of third world countries. There is no excuse why we continue a racist criminal justice system, why black and Latino school districts receive substantially less funding than white districts. No excuse that in poor minority neighborhoods, kids are coming down with asthma and other illnesses because of environmental degradation. So what we have got to do in a nation which overall has massive disparities, we have got to also address the racial disparities that are rampant in America. The time is long, long overdue for justice to come to this country. And the time is long overdue for us to create a nation of brotherhood and sisterhood
where we care for each other, where we love each other, not have a nation based on greed and selfishness.
Yes.
So that is the challenge that we face, and I'm not going to suggest to you for one moment that the path forward for this agenda is going to be an easy path forward. Never is. Frederick Douglass. You remember what Frederick Douglass said? If you want progress, don't think you can have progress without struggle. Nothing comes easy. Nobody gives you freedom. Right? The civil rights movement taught us anything. Nobody gives you anything. You got to stand up and you got to fight for it. You want health care for all, you're going to have to fight for it. You want quality education for all of our kids, we're going to have to fight for that. You want to save the planet, you're going to have to fight for that. So when I talk about our message of us, not me, I will tell you what no other candidate for president will tell you. There's some really good people out there, they are friends of mine, and I do not disparage them. But there's one thing that I say which I think others don't say. And that is no individual,
That's right.
no matter how well intentioned, can do it alone. I can't do it alone. I am not here to tell you, vote for Bernie Sanders, I'm going to solve all the problems. It doesn't work that way. Dr. King, if he were here, would tell you that it was not him alone, that it was millions of people, black and white, who stood up, who went to jail, who died in the struggle for human dignity. So we don't accomplish it alone. Change never takes place from the top on down. You know that it only takes place from the bottom on up when millions of people look around them and say, this is wrong. This ain't right. We need justice. And that's what this campaign is about, and I would be very proud if you joined our efforts. Thank you all very much.